Alright, so when you start with your mid shaft, make sure the coupler is off. This coupler, there's a tool that goes in here. It's a cut off shaft with a nut on the back. You can get them from Jet Maniac. I know you can put them in a vise and get this coupler off. That has to come off first before you go to a press, because the coupler has to go in between these supports and it cannot fit with the coupler, because you have to push out the shaft down through the housing. And it typically takes some heat, so don't be afraid to use some force, heat, and a vise. Alright, so let's get into it. So we need to press this shaft out the front of this midshaft housing. And what you want to do, make sure you get these plates, get it on this inner ring here. Otherwise, if you push on the outside, it'll start to put too much force on the rubber. I'm just going to line this up. And then you hear it kind of pop out. And I put a box underneath it just so the shaft will fall in the box. Here's that mid shaft. If it has a bronze color, it's typically I think a SVT or WSM. I've had good luck with them. They've been just fine. As you can see, I've got stuff everywhere. Maybe your workspace is cleaner than that, but these seals are always quite a pain. And if you have a better method, I'd be all ears. There's probably a way to pull them out somehow, but seems like I always kind of nick up the housing here. I don't know if there's a better way. You can't really press them out because there's clips inside and the bearings. You can't just press the whole thing out. Okay, I've been successful with hitting them out here. There's my mallet. You can kind of stick a screwdriver there and twist it. We got that seal. Almost. If you see in here, there's a clip on each side of the bearing, and you'll want to get one of these tools. Makes it a lot easier to get that. It's still not easy. Pull out that clip. You can reuse these two. No problem. All right, 2 out of 2. Now we can press this bearing out now. All right, to press this bearing out, we'll go out the back end. That way, let me make sure this is flush here. Have to these tools make it really handy. That way you can get on the outer race, get even pressure in there. And you can use your socket again if you'd like have a way to cheat it. You can see it just going straight. Alright, so we got to finish pressing it out. Make sure it's... Make it as centered as you can. Alright, it's going out now without putting any pressure on the rubber. There it goes. Bearing is out. I don't know if I damaged that and taking it out, probably. But the midshaft housing, it's still good. What you want to look for in a midshaft housing, look for any separation of the rubber along the edges here. I'll show you. Here's an old one. I don't know what vintage this is from, probably some mid-90s. But along this top edge, there's some separation. And you probably don't want to use that for your really nice machines. For the beaters, you might be able to get away with it, but a nice fresh midshaft is always nice. Alright, so now with this one, I want to clean it up real good. Doesn't have to be perfect, so we're just going to pack it full of grease anyway, but you want to inspect the bearing surfaces. Make sure there's nothing abnormal about it. But we're going to put the snap ring up front. Press the bearing in from the back. Get it right in there. Put it right up against that snap ring. Put the other ring in there. And then pack the seals and press the seals in. And press the midshaft in. Shouldn't be too bad. Alright, so let's just put the front one in now. Get your tool lined up. You want to make it sure it's the one right next to the bearing. The ones further to the outside are for, like, they got these double bearing midshafts for some couches, like Wave Blaster 2. Make sure it's in there, and it's right in the groove right closest to the bearing. Alright, so now we're going to press in the bearing. We put in the front snap ring in the groove closest to the bearing. Place it in there, make sure it's nice and square with it so we got a solid surface under. We got a genuine Yamaha bearing here. So we don't need to grease this or anything now, it's sealed inside. You want to try to square this up as much as possible. And we'll use this again. Sometimes you can use a socket or something that fits, but make sure it's on the outer race of the bearing. Alright, so that is on the outside. So make sure it's square. Right now, not square, so I'm going to back off. And now it's all going down even. Got some resistance there. I'm gonna ease off a bit and see. It's just a little off. I'm trying to square it up as much as possible. So I'm going to go until this piece is smaller diameter than the outside, so it'll fit right in. I'm just going real easy till I find it, till I feel it stop. Then I'll be up against the front clip. I should go right in pretty smooth. And alright, so I felt a little resistance there. I stopped immediately when I felt just a little bit. And we'll check, and we can see that the bearing is up against that front clip. And we can put in the rear clip. Alright, so the rear clip going in. Make sure it's in that groove. I just try to spin it. So, yep, looks like that's in there. Looks like the bearing's in there just fine. Now it's time to put our seals in. Alright, now the next fun stage, we need to grease our seals, and for the grease I just use some Mystic high performance marine grease. There's a variety of things you can use, but that works pretty well. It helps prevent corrosion. And then for this, use genuine OEM seals, but there'll be two of the same one, ending in part number 55, and one of the at the end will be part number 56. That by itself. So we're going to grease all these up, and the ones with the same part number, yeah, it's going to go like this, and this one will go like this. So there's a spring on the inside, and keep that always towards the outside of the midshaft. So these will go like this, and then this other one will go on the back side here. But we would first have to coat them full of grease. So keep those two the same by themselves. This one on the outside. It's a fun job. So it's kind of dirty. But I'll take these and just use it liberally. Fill in any air hole you want grease anywhere you can. Vice air. Air can be displaced by water, so you don't want that. Yep, and if it looks just absolutely messy, that's how I like to do it. I'll set that to the side. It's good to have a buddy do it with you, and then you guys can kind of share some of the duties and knock these things out pretty quick if you do like a little batch. Be nice and messy, but get grease everywhere. Alright, keep that one to the side. Yeah, mess. Should have torn off some towels ahead of time. And it'll just keep getting messy here, so don't worry about it too much. Alright, so that one was a different one, so this one will be going up in here. So we'll be pressing this one in. I just kind of press it in by hand at first, but we'll use the press to get it all the way in there. And I'll put more grease in there. This one will be going in the back side. So remember the spring side out. We'll use the press to get it all the way in. So we'll come back over here to the press, we'll get those in, then we'll get the rear seal, and we'll get the midshaft in. Alright, now pressing this seal. Pressing this seal here. It's pretty much the same methods as before. Like this, you don't want to force it. Just trying to get it in there. Pick up that air gap. And then we'll try to pack some more grease in there yet when we're done. But that seal in there, it should look like that. And we'll get the rear seal in. Going in nice. Again, you're just feeling for just a little bit of resistance, not much. And it's pressed in there. Kind of just let's butt up to that clip. I think this last seal. Push that edge down. See if we can just get that edge. All right, doesn't need a whole lot. Let's get in there. All right, so there's that rear seal. It's in there, everything's square. I just like to try to fill any other gaps in there with grease now. So again, you're just trying to get grease anywhere where water could get. So you're trying to displace any air. I'm not trying to, not greasing the bearing here. It's just filling the void. It should look like I'm using a lot of grease. A lot of grease is probably not going to fit in this, but I just like to try to get every little gap. All right, now we need to press the mid shaft in the housing, and we do it from the top or the front. We'll push it down, and then that tool go. So now we need to press the mid shaft into the bearing, and we're going to do it from the front, and it should reach to a depth of, I think it's 19 to 21 millimeters, and that's past this point here. So when we put this flush on here, it should hit that gap there. And it's hard to measure it with these other seals here. So Nick fabricated this pretty handy midshaft spacing tool. So we'll just get this ready. We're gonna have to go down a rung. Alright, so we need to put this shaft down through there. Go down a certain amount. We'll need to drive this in an additional, I don't know, centimeter, half inch or something. A lot better that way. Now, you gotta make sure you're supporting this housing on the inside here, and this is gonna go down. We only need to go down a little bit, so we'll do a little bit and check, a little bit and check. So we'll check now. see that? We still have a little bit to go. About 3 millimeters or something. Let's get it square, push on the rubber. Alright, that might be about it. Alright, so we made our final adjustment. Well, maybe final. We'll sit here and check. Filled with extra grease from the inside, which is okay. Alright, so we want to see if it fits up. Looks like we still have a bit of ways to go. But getting close. All right, I think that might do it. It's real close. We'll do it's another about 2 millimeters, maybe. It's not much. Always seems like it's only a couple millimeters, but man. All right, money. Oh, perfect. It is right on now. So that's you want to kind of compress the seal here because it's 19 to the face of this. So there you have it. One rebuilt midshaft. Didn't replace the O-rings in here yet. I'll do that next. They're on the in the back end here. But otherwise, if it's greasy, that's good. The seals are flush. There's kind of some grease that kind of came out there, so I'm confident it's full of grease, and that seems to be real smooth. Sometimes they are real tight when you get done rebuilding them, so that's a good sign though. They'll break right in. But shouldn't be any play. Should be nice and solid. And put your little spacer here and the coupler on, and be good to go. So some things here with this grease port here. Stock, there's a Zerk that goes on a tube and a Zerk fitting. It only greases the inside here between the seals, and it doesn't actually grease the bearing. So as you saw, the bearing was sealed when we put it in. So if you put in too much grease, it could pop these seals out, and you don't want that. So we typically just fill this full of grease and put a screw in here and cap it off. I've never seen it fail because of lack of grease. Only just heard of stories of too much grease popping out the seals. That's it. We'll go over how to build a new midshaft after this, but it's pretty much the same, but everything with new. It's way easier actually. You don't have to take apart those damn seals and everything. But there you go.